Conrad?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I want to thank you and the Vice Chair of this committee for conducting this committee in such a thoroughly professional way. I really have enjoyed my service on this committee, and in no small measure because of the leadership of this committee. I think it's a very good example for the rest of the Senate. I also want to thank all those who are here testifying on behalf of the intelligence community. Let me just add my voice with respect to the press reports reflecting on Director Petraeus by these unseen, unnamed sources. You know, as far as I'm concerned, these people that work behind a cloak of anonymity attacking people are cowards. If they have something to say about somebody, if they want it to have some credibility, they ought to have the courage to stand up and say it and put their name behind it. And I'd say to the press, they ought to quit printing anonymous attacks on people. Doesn't it reflect well on them either? So with respect to Director Petraeus, as far as I'm concerned, he's a patriot. He's demonstrated that not only in his military career, but on taking on this assignment. That was, to me, an act of patriotism. Been very easy for him. He didn't need to do this for his reputation or his career. So he deserves our praise, not these nameless, faceless attacks that frankly have no basis in fact either. And my experience is I've been quite pleasantly surprised at how open the intelligence community has been with this committee. Quite to the contrary of this report. Director Mueller, thank you for agreeing to serve another couple of years. I think that too is an act of patriotism. It's very much appreciated at this time of threat to our country. For you to agree to take on additional years of service deserves our public praise. And we thank all of you. I can't neglect mentioning Mr. Olson because his parents are from my home state, know them well, couldn't have finer people. We're very, very fortunate to have people of that quality and character serving. I'd like to ask each of you in turn, since this is an annual meeting, what is your assessment of whether or not we have made progress in our ability to handle the terrorist threat to this country? Have we made progress? If so, how? Are we slipping? What is your assessment of how we have done compared to where we were a year ago? I'd start with Mr. Goldberg, go right down the line.
I think, as it was said earlier, Senator Conrad, that progress has been made in various parts of the counterterrorism fight, especially against al-Qaeda senior leadership. But there are many other challenges out there, and it remains a very, very dangerous part of our work.
Ms. Wagner?
Senator, I think we've made a lot of progress, particularly in a couple of key areas. I think it was already mentioned the extent to which many of the stovepipes have been broken down in terms of information sharing between the elements of the community. I think we've made huge progress in that realm, and in fact, we operate as a team. And I daily am interacting and operating, particularly with my colleagues at the FBI and at NCTC, looking at the terrorist threat abroad as it projects to the homeland, and then dealing with the FBI on the issues that are inside the homeland. Mm-hmm. And the second area, I would just say quickly that we've made a lot of progress, I think, in my own department, is in the ability to which we've been able to harness the intelligence from the intelligence community to inform our instruments, if you will, to keep people out at our borders, to make sure that the wrong people are not getting on airplanes at last points of departure, and to make sure that people who shouldn't get them are not receiving immigration benefits from the department. So we've really tightened our ability to take what the community is producing and operationalize that in Homeland Security.
Mr. Mueller?
The removal of bin Laden and al-Awlaki was a huge benefit to the security of the United States, my brothers and sisters and the other agencies. By the same token, there are still leaders in both Yemen and Afghanistan-Pakistan border area that have the capability of launching attacks domestically. Most of the arrests that we've made over the last year and a half have been lone wolves, those individuals who have been radicalized, trained on the internet, have the capability of developing IEDs and other mechanisms on the internet. And as we have been relatively successful in addressing these particular plots, nonetheless, the ability of persons to utilize the internet to be both individually radicalized but also get the information they need to undertake attacks has increased.
Director Clapper.
Sir, just to take perhaps a little longer perspective, this is my third job in the intelligence community in the last 12 years. I started at NEMA 2 days after 9/11. I think we've made tremendous progress. The transformation of the FBI into an intelligence-driven organization is just one case in point. The maturation of Department of Homeland Security, the expansion of the intelligence community to include both foreign and domestic aspects, the sharing with the federal, state, local, tribal, private sector level, all of which have, I think, mean improvement, demonstrate improvement. That's not to say we should rest on our laurels. We always have more issues to deal with, and this is not, particularly with respect to counterterrorism, is not a threat that's going to go away.
Thank you.
Well, Senator, first of all, thanks for your words of support. We have made considerable overall progress over the course of the last year. Any time the top three leaders of the most significant terrorist organization that faces us are taken out, that, needless to say, is really quite a banner year. And Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, Al-Shabaab, other organizations have sustained important losses as well. Having said that, the threat of terrorism remains significant, and we must sustain the campaign. We must maintain the pressure on Al-Qaeda and its affiliates and other violent extremist organizations wherever they may be. Beyond that, I also concur with Director Clapper that there has been continued important progress in the organizational aspects of the war on terror. The counterterrorist campaign has benefited enormously from the continued efforts to better integrate intelligence, for the various elements of the community to work together more effectively, and frankly, even within individual agencies, to further the progress in the integration of efforts between, say, in the CIA operators as well as analysts, and bringing together all of the different components of our organization and the rest of the intelligence community, say, in the Counterterrorist Center and some of the other centers that we have as well.
General Burgess.
Sir, I guess the phrase up here is I would like to identify myself with the remarks of those that have gone before me as a plank holder in the Director of National Intelligence. As I look back, I agree with the way Director Mueller has put it and Director Clapper. We have made great strides in a lot of different areas. Having said that, we still have work to do and we still have challenges remaining.
All right. Mr. Olson.
Consistent with the other comments, the bottom line, I think, is that Al-Qaeda is weaker now than it has been in the past 10 years. That said, we face a more diffuse and decentralized threat from Al-Qaeda's affiliates in Yemen, Somalia, as well as the threat from lone actors in the United States. As Director Clapper said, I think from an organizational perspective, in answering your question on our ability to handle the threat, we are better positioned, and I think the operative word is it's a team approach. We're better positioned to share information, as the Vice Chairman commented on at the beginning of the hearing. We do a better job of integrating that information, analyzing it. At NCTC, we've made improvements in watch listing, in providing situational awareness, and overall, again, it's a team effort among all of the agencies represented here.
Just in terms of summing this up, what I hear is significant progress, serious threats still remain to the United States, and that the teamwork in the intelligence community itself has dramatically improved. I'm hearing that quite consistently. I think that's very important for the people that we represent to hear, that they understand, yes, we've made progress, in some ways very dramatic progress, especially against al-Qaeda, but that significant threats remain, and that we've got to continue to be vigilant, which means we've got to continue to put resources to these issues.